welcome to another episode of the HaskinCast Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Haskin, and I have a wonderful artist who has just released her first album. You know, this is not normally my wheelhouse of music, but I really, really honestly dig these tunes. And let's talk about them with the author, the owner, the creator, the magic that is Madz. Madz, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. First of all, congratulations on your new album, your first album. How exciting is that?
Well, thank you so much. It's more nerve-wracking than exciting so far, but it's been a good experience for sure.
Are you at a point where you're sick to death of listening to the songs, or do they still, are you back to being excited by them?
Oh gosh, I've definitely gone through phases. Right before it came out, I was like playing my roommates the music and they were like, "This is our favorite song." I was like, "Oh, that one. Do we have to listen to that one again?" But it's kind of reignited the spark for this music to finally have it out.
I think people don't necessarily understand the difficulties of recording an album. When you hear your song that you've been working on writing for a while, so you've heard it 100, 150 times at least through the writing process, then the recording process, then the mixing process, you've probably heard each song a good 300 times.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's a lot. I just can't even imagine like people who have like serious hits having to play like Taylor Swift is probably so tired of Shake It Off.
Yeah.
Poor girl has to still play that at every show. Gosh, I just can't even imagine that.
Well, and imagine 30 years from now when
Oh, yeah.
she's played that, 5,000, 6,000 times.
Yeah, I maybe one day we'll get to that spot, but now I just get to be annoyed with it on my own.
There you go. Are you able to listen to it objectively now, or are you like, do you put on a song and you're like, oh my God, did I do this right? Is this mixed okay?
I still have moments where I'm like, "Oh, maybe I should have added something there or taken this away," but in the moment it felt right and it seems to be hitting people well. So, you know, everybody makes mistakes, I guess, but I think it turned out pretty well.
Well, I think mistakes are subjective, right?
Yeah,
Because you're going to be the harshest critic of your music.
definitely.
Maybe some people in the media will be, because that's just what they are.
Yeah.
There's some magazines that are just notorious for bashing everything that comes their way, no matter if it's good or not. But I think that what you can do, there's really nothing wrong in music unless you play something that's unpleasant and people like tones that don't work together, like notes or
Yeah.
instruments that don't sound pleasing, unless you're doing like a horror album where that's what you're going for,
Goal. Yeah.
um, or even a song. But I think that there's really nothing wrong, right? You could say, I wish I would have added a slide whistle here, or I wish I would have put another guitar track there, or I wish I hadn't have added this organ. But that stuff that you just take forward and you say, okay, now that I've learned this on this album and from doing concerts and how these songs feel live, now when I go to start writing for my next album, or if you just continually write, you just assimilate that stuff along the way. Okay, I was really unhappy with this last time. Here's how I'm going to hopefully not overcorrect for it this time.
Yeah, I think the thing that kind of saves me too is that I've heard multiple versions of these songs,
Mhm.
but to everyone else they only know the one. And so in my
Right.
mind, I'm like, "Oh, I could have done this, I could have done that," but no one knows what the other options are, and that kinda makes
Mhm.
me feel better.
Yeah, it's like when you get a DVD and they have the alternate takes of
Yeah.
scenes and you see how different they were.
Yeah.
I find that stuff fascinating personally, because as a songwriter myself, I love kind of understanding where other people are or how they process different things. Do you typically, because you're a vocalist mainly, so do you typically start with lyrics first, or do you start with melody?
It's all over the place. My favorite place to write is in my car, which probably isn't the safest. However, when inspiration hits, you gotta do what you gotta do. Um, Typically, if I'm in my car and some sort of melody or lyric strikes, I'll either type it in my phone or record it in my voice memos, or if I'm home, it normally starts with my guitar or piano. I don't put myself in a box with how to write a song. It's
Good.
whatever like feels right in the moment.
Yeah, that's good because I found that you can attack a song from any angle, whether it be lyrics, guitar, drums, bass, whatever it is, you
Yeah.
can come up with something as a starting point from any instrument.
Anything, yeah.
But what's exciting is, let's say that, normally you write on a piano and you're just goofing around on a bass one day and you come up with an idea from the bass, you start attacking the whole song differently because you're coming at it from a different angle. So I think it's good to do different things, and it keeps it fresh too.
Yeah, it definitely makes the process interesting. It's different every time, which I like.
Yeah. Now, do you tend to record a demo of, okay, here's my idea for the song, let me get it down before I forget it? Or do you tend to make a lot of changes before your first recording?
See, I have this really bad habit of just not recording anything
Mm,
and not
okay.
writing any of my chords down. I'm working on it. But normally it's I write the song, I write the lyrics down, and I'm like, cool, I'm done. And then a month later, I'm like, I kind of forgot how to play that song. So I'm trying to get better about like at least record the ideas, call
Yeah.
it good, and then work on it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm quite bad at that.
Well, I think you've got a good start with the voice memos though, because I do that a lot. I'll be, when I'm out and about, I'll have an idea and I just kind of like sneak away and just, do it in the voice recorder
Yeah,
because I will forget everything that I came up with 5 seconds after if I don't document it.
yeah. It's the only way to do it. And I don't know. It seems more productive that
Mhm.
way because then I'm not
Yeah.
like always scrambling trying to be like, "Oh, that sounded really cool. What was it again?"
I mean, sometimes it can work in your favor because sometimes you can come up with something that is completely different
True.
and you might like it better, but you still could do something with the other idea if you had it.
If I had it. Yeah, it's good to just keep everything in your pocket for sure.
Yeah. Has the writing gotten more comfortable as you went along and wrote more and more songs for the album?
Honestly, not to like toot my own horn, but
No.
writing kind of always come easy to me.
Mhm.
I'm and I shouldn't I say easy as in like I can do it. I'm very hard on myself and it takes a lot of like trial and error to get to what the final part of the song is.
Mhm.
But, you know, forgot where I was going with that.
Well, I don't think it's bad to say how it is. I mean, if writing is something that comes naturally easy for you, I get bashed all the time, or I used to get bashed all the time because I don't get writer's block. It's just not ever happened to me before.
Yeah.
Um, I've always found there's always something I can create. And if I'm not, if I'm playing on a piano and I'm not getting anything, I just switch to another sound or I switch a different instrument. There's always something.
Yeah, I always find if I'm not inspired, it's because I'm not listening to anything that's inspiring me. So it's like I gotta find a new artist to listen to or a new show to watch or something
Yeah.
new to throw some inspiration in my brain. There's always a way to get around that, I think.
Well, let's talk about that. So, growing up, obviously, I know your Aunt Julie.
Yeah,
I've hung out with her a few times. I've known your mom and her since high school.
yeah.
Both absolutely just lovely, dear friends. What are your influences musically?
Well, I, as a child, loved Michael Jackson to the point where at 4 years old when he died, I cried to my mom because I said I would have no one to marry anymore. So if that tells you how in deep I was with Michael Jackson. Um, and obviously my mom and my aunts really loved Paula Cole, so the kind of singer-songwriter-y parts of Paula Cole. And again, I'm a 19-year-old girl, so Taylor Swift is obviously in there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever listen to artists like Tori Amos, like other female solo like singer songwriter types?
I don't know if you would consider Alanis Morissette singer-songwriter, but I did go through a really heavy Alanis Morissette phase when I was, like,
Mhm.
9.
Interesting.
That was my
I
go-to for a bit.
I just saw a clip of an interview with John Stamos that came up on my Instagram, and I'm like, "Why am I getting a clip of an interview with John Stamos? That's the most random thing." But he was actually talking about the day that, Dave Coulier messaged him and after he had heard the Alanis Morissette song and admitted that that was him.
Oh my
He was
gosh.
sure that that was song was written about him. Now that in a way, that sounds kinda arrogant, like, "She's talking about me," but if it was a positive song, I would say that might be arrogant, but it definitely was not.
Oh, okay, so not something that you should be owning, probably.
No, which is why he's never really come out publicly and said that, but he did to John, and of course, John had no problem talking about it, so I
Yeah,
thought that was kind of
yeah,
fun. So a little bit of a mystery potentially solved there. I mean, everybody kind of has narrowed it down to it being him anyway.
yeah.
But she has a really interesting voice. She's got a lot of power, and a
Yeah.
really interesting vibrato. You sing very smooth on this album. Like your you sound so confident and comfortable and relaxed. It feels like you've been doing this for years when I listen to you.
Yeah, my parents have always been very supportive of me. So when I think I was like freshly 9 years old, they shoved me into vocal lessons at School of Rock, and I was like, I'm gonna be a rock star like Hannah Montana. And I just like found that's the one thing I didn't get bored of.
Mhm.
So I would sit there and I'd like record myself singing songs until it was perfect. That's just been
Wow.
my jam.
Yeah. And but your voice, like I feel like you have good control over your vibrato, but you also know really when to bring it out and when not to. I love when you just sing smooth, and I love when you put those inflections in your songs because you get it. You understand songwriting and you understand performance. And a lot of times with an artist, especially with their first album, they're kind of all over the place, but it seems like you've really honed that. Did you work with a producer or was this all you?
Well, thank you. I wrote these songs all by myself in my bedroom or in my car, and then I went to Trevor, who produced and engineered the album, and basically was like, "Here's me with my guitar. Let's see what we can do." And, I feel like I went in there with a pretty solid idea of what I wanted it to sound like, and he just, like, added the sprinkles on top of the cupcake with that,
Mhm.
which was really, really, really sick. But, yeah, I think I went in pretty confidently with this album just because 'cause I've been sitting on all these songs for so long,
Yeah.
and I was like, "You know, if I'm gonna do it, let's do it. They seem pretty solid, we'll call it good."
Nice. And, when you're paying for studio time, there is that pressure
Yeah, like,
of
"Let's get
the
it
red
done."
light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Um, I'm curious then, how long has the span been since you started writing these songs to getting them recorded?
So, 2 weeks was started in 2020.
Okay.
I wrote that first verse and chorus with a couple of my friends and then just kinda sat on it. I actually wrote it for a band that I was in during that time, and we just never did anything with it. So, that's probably the earliest I started writing for this album, and then up until, like, May, right before I decided to go into the studio was when I wrote the last
Uh,
song for the album.
Okay. All right. So did you write any songs that did not make it on the album?
Um, there's a couple, yeah, that I had, written and recorded when I was about 16 or 17, and, they're just very, like I was quite emo in high school, red hair, side bangs, punk vest, and they're just a little too, like, My Chemical Romance, Paramore to have, like, fit on this album, so
Mm.
had to scrap those, but dear place in my heart for those 2 songs.
Well, and down the road, you can always do a deluxe edition and include the tracks that weren't recorded at that time.
You never know. I mean, if Taylor Swift can do it, I can do it, you know?
Well,
Gotta keep telling
yeah.
myself that.
Absolutely. I hope that you get to be as successful as Taylor. She's probably one of the most famous people in the world now.
She's amazing. I will defend her to my grave. Seriously.
I feel like she's somebody that I could just hang out with, like a total casual just hangout, sit around and talk, have a movie on.
Yeah. No, I wanna meet her one day. Just sit in a room and watch how she interacts with people. I think that would be so interesting.
I find that really refreshing too, because I feel like whenever I've seen her interviewed, even on the red carpets or even like at big events, I feel like she's just, this is who I am. I don't need you to think I'm a big celebrity. I don't need you to think I'm this kind of person or I think this way or that way. She's very, I'm not going to put up with your bullshit. If you ask me a stupid question, I'm just going to look at you.
Yeah, which is
You know?
great, like a little 8, 9-year-old girl that was like, "I wanna write music," like, looking at Taylor Swift, be like, "I'm not answering that question. This is who I am," you know? I adore her. I think she's so cool.
I think my favorite clip with her was when I think I want to say it was Mary Hart that was interviewing her on a red carpet. She had just won a big award and she was wearing like a really slinky dress. And Mary Hart commented on the dress and said, You're not just going to be going home with a trophy tonight. You're going to be going home with lots of men.
Yeah, and she was
First of
like, "No,
all,
man." Yeah,
lots of men is kind of what do you think happens at the Swift household on a Friday night?
exactly. Yeah, it's really great to see, like, women in music be so confident in themselves and be like, "No, like, I'm not here because I'm a woman. I'm here because I'm good at what I do, you know? It's really
Exactly.
inspiring as a little girl watching that.
Yeah, definitely a great role model for sure. Have you written any songs since these songs were done?
I've started a couple,
Mhm.
but honestly, like, this whole album has just, like, encapsulated my musical mind that, like, the
Yeah.
thought right now of starting something else just seems overwhelming. I
Mhm.
think I need to let these marinate, even though I'm annoyed with them. Let them marinate a little longer before
Well,
I
the
move on.
the overkill definitely has a big role to play in
Yeah,
that, and I think that's why it's great when a band can, they can record an album, then they go on tour for a year before they come back and start working on another album, because you need to get away. Even though you're playing, a handful of those songs live, you need to get away from them a little
yeah,
bit and
need a little
separate yourself.
space. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's
definitely.
always but in the meantime, you're still going to come up with ideas and you're still going to put them in your voice recorder, hopefully, and
Yeah.
remember. What do you think now that you've had songs that are produced, mixed, and mastered, and you hear the potential of what your idea starts with and what it finally sounds like in the finished version? How do you think that will affect you writing going forward now that you know what it can sound like?
You know, honestly, I kinda love that I have no idea what it's gonna turn out to be. Like, there's a couple songs on this album that I was like, "Yeah, these are gonna be, like, crazy pop songs," and now there's, like, a church organ in the background, and there's, like, weird punk guitar riffs in the back. I kinda love the unknown, so I think I am just gonna stick to, like, let's write on my guitar and my piano and just, like, see how it goes. Just
Sure.
keep it I love the magic of it
Yeah.
all.
Well, and working with a producer too, you can take those and say, "This is where I'm comfortable starting my pieces, and here's how I've displayed the idea to you, so that we can now take that and bring it to the next level, whether it be adding a pipe organ or adding drums or, whatever it's going to be." You should always write where you're most comfortable, but every once in a while, try something different.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe I'll learn how to play a saxophone or something, write a song on that.
There you go. I'm sure your roommates will enjoy that.
Oh, of course, yeah, no, they would love that.
Yeah. I love the first song on the album, Empathy. It really is an album opener. It's just a nice, gentle vocal, and it's what I think 29 seconds long,
Yes, sir.
and it just really gives a good warm up, I think, for what we're about to get in the rest of the songs.
Thank you. Yeah, I had, that's another one that I wrote in my car. You'll see
Mhm.
that's a continuous theme. I sat on it for, like, months, and I was showing my friends, I was like, "I really wanna write" it was supposed to be a whole song. Like, "I really wanna turn this into a song, but I don't know where to go with it." And I tried and I tried and I tried, and I finally, like, went into the studio and I was like, "This is it. We're gonna let this be what it is. We'll call it an intro and call it good." And it worked. I'm really happy with how that one turned out.
Yeah, me too. I think it gives you a good overall idea of what the album is gonna feel like without kinda giving you too much. I think it's sometimes having those shorter intros makes you wanna hear the next thing more.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued by this, I need more. Whereas if you just have the song as the first song, if they don't like the first song, they're probably not gonna listen to another one, or maybe they'll just hop around to the middle of an album somewhere and go, "Oh, let me just check something else out," and either stay or leave. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and some of my favorite albums that have come out in, like, the last year or 2 had a little intro, which definitely made me feel better about it. Like, Emails I Can't Send by Sabrina Carpenter, that title track, I think is, like, just over a minute long and, like,
Mhm,
totally sets the tone. SOS by SZA too. I was like,
mhm.
"Well, if they can do it, I'm gonna shove that on mine too." I think that's cool.
Yeah, Sabrina Carpenter is another artist that, man, I'm so impressed with.
I love her. I watched her on Disney Channel for years. I
Mhm.
adore her. She's one of my faves.
I was very bummed when Girl Meets World got canceled.
Ugh, too soon, man.
I think they just took it too far too fast, personally. I
Definitely.
think it just got dark, like, way quick when they were
Oh
just,
my
like, these
gosh.
little fun kids being crazy to, "All right, now we're all in a three-way romance, and this has gotta get
Yeah,
settled." I'm like, "Dude, just
it
you could
happened
save
really fast in
save
that
that for,
show.
like, junior or senior year of high school and, you know."
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. It
I
was
I'm
good first, though. Good when it started.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know if you know, but they, the people from Boy Meets World, they do a podcast where they're doing
Really?
a rewatch. It's called Pod Meets World. They do a rewatch of all their episodes. They're on season 2, I think, right now. And it's Ryder Strong, Danielle Fishel, and Will Friedle.
Oh,
And
I'm saving that right now.
they're going to once they finish Boy Meets World, they said they're going to go into all the Girl Meets World episodes. So I'm going to be very curious to hear what they say about how that all panned out.
Oh my gosh, I just saved it. That's amazing.
Yeah. And of course she wrote the theme song for that, and she and Rowan sang on that together, which I love. It's on my iPod. It's one of those songs that you get up in the morning, and if you put that on, you're going to jump
You're
out
gonna
of
have
bed. You're
a
going to
good
start
day.
getting it done. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do you have any like music that you use to inspire you to kind of get going on those days where you're like, I just want to stay in bed?
It's it really depends on the day. Again, I went through an emo phase, so sometimes, you gotta wake up to some Ice Nine Kills metalcore,
Mhm.
scare you out of bed. But then other days, I still have Hannah Montana on my playlist. Best of both worlds, gotta act
Yep.
like you're in a theme song for a Disney movie. It'll get you up for sure.
Nothing wrong with that at all. The song that Sia did, Chandelier, is one for me that I just absolutely love. And I had some really weird dream one night because I live in Las Vegas. And
Mhm.
I had this dream that I was walking down the strip, and all of a sudden I was in a music video for Chandelier. And like my hair that I don't even have is blowing in the wind, and there's all these people that are syncopated dancing behind me. And I'm just like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just going to go with it because it's a dream.
I love that. That's such a good dream to have, to be in a Sia video. Those are always so interesting.
Yeah. She's another artist that I'm just really impressed with, that she just seems to find a new level to stretch to all the time, that I'm
Always.
just like, how could she do anything more than this? Well, she just did.
Oh, there she is. Yep, she's always 10 steps ahead of everyone.
I like that there's a lot of really good female role model songwriters out there right now.
So good. It makes me so happy.
Yeah. How about the acting world though? Because it seems like there's a lot more these days, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like there's more female leads and heroines that are heroes than there were before. Does that affect your, like, how you feel about the challenges of being a woman in today's world?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, when I went to see Captain Marvel, a little, like, 14-year-old me was like, "Finally!" Wonder Woman too, I was like, "Yeah, go!"
Mhm.
It's after, like, growing up years of, like, all the boys at school are like Spider-Man and Iron Man. I'm like, "Oh, no, let's talk about Wonder Woman because she would beat any of their asses."
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Good change for me, for sure.
And of course, the Wonder Woman theme was written by Tina Guo and Hans Zimmer.
Mhm.
Absolutely incredible piece of music, I have to say.
Same. Yeah, so, so good.
I would say one of the best superhero themes, as far as like, for getting all pumped up and just, ready to take on some bad guys. I think that's one of the best themes I've heard.
It definitely encompasses the vibe of the movie, which is hard to do, I would
Mhm.
think.
Yeah, for sure. So what is your plan now? Are you obviously you're doing live gigs in Utah. Is your plan to just kind of keep doing that for now, or where do you want to go from here?
I'm trying to just get my name out there right now. I was in
Mhm.
cover bands for so long that sometimes people will recognize my face, but they don't know my name.
Mhm.
So I'm just trying to shove my name in people's faces around Utah, but I would love to just, like, hop in a van and live off of hot dogs and peanut butter and jelly with my band and just drive around and be like, "Please let us play." So we'll just have to see where that goes, but ultimately the goal is to get out of Utah and see new people.
Right. So do you have a solid band, or are you just playing with different people right now?
Most of the time I have the same band, thank
Okay.
God, but they're so talented and so busy, they have their own band, so sometimes I gotta switch it up, but I have a pretty solid group of people that I'm able to rotate through, which is
Good.
convenient.
Yeah, for sure. That always helps to have backup players and
Yeah,
people
and
you can switch
especially,
out.
like, ones that are so talented. I've been
Mhm.
playing with these guys since I was 13, 14. They were at a music program that I was also at, that's how we met, and they're just insane. Like, some of the most talented people I've ever met in my entire life, and some of them are still in high school. It's
Mhm.
just crazy.
Wow. That's awesome though, because in a smaller town, I mean, like you're not in a really small town, but you kind of are in a small town.
Yeah, in comparison to other places for sure.
Yeah, it's really lucky to find that many talented people to work with that, are freed up to be able to do things with you when you want, and then have alternatives if they aren't.
No, it's amazing. The talent out here is insane. I mean, I truly believe the only things there are to do in Utah, and call me crazy, is ski and snowboard or make music. You're either
Mhm.
in the mountains or you're doing stuff in the city with music, and
Yeah.
I'm very grateful to be surrounded by that up here.
Well, until what, 8 o'clock at night or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
and then it's curfew, everyone's gotta go home, for sure.
The only time I've been to Salt Lake City, I went out there. I was working for an inventory company in Colorado, and we went to Salt Lake to do I think it was like an auto parts store and a Michael's Arts and Crafts or something. And we get into town, we pull into, it was a Pizza Hut at the time. And they're like, "Hey, are you guys from out of town?" And we're like, "Yeah." They said, "Well, if you guys want to get alcohol, you better go right now and get it,
Yeah.
because you have about a half an hour. We're not promoting your drinking, but I'm just letting you know." And so
Yeah.
they said, "We'll hold your table for you," and everything. So they did. We went to the liquor store and got some beer, and then we came back, and that was very nice of them to let us know. But then it was weird because the first place we did, I think, was the Checker Auto. And then when we did the Michael's Arts and Crafts the next day, everybody was like, "Hi, I'm Susie. I'm a member. Hi, I'm Bill. I'm not affiliated." Like, they had to let you know their stance on the church.
Yeah,
And I'm like, we don't care.
you
Like,
gotta
we're here
set
to
the
count.
stage.
Yeah, we're here to count plastic flowers.
Yeah. It's definitely a different culture here, but everyone here is so nice. Like, people there's a stereotype out here that people are just, like, way overly nice, but, like, it's not a joke. Like, you'll be walking
Yeah.
down the street, and if you tripped and fell on your face, there'd be 30 strangers coming up, like, praying for you and calling ambulances, and there's a doctor on his like, crazy nice out here.
Yeah, that was my experience for sure. It was hard getting used to everything closing so early because we were used to working overnight. So
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
for
that was
sure.
kind of strange. But the fun part was when we went to count at the Michael's Arts and Crafts, they had an 80 station on. And so they wanted us to count all the plastic flowers first. So we all gang up on those. We all have our little sections, and they haven't this 80 stations playing, and Jenny comes on. And so we're like trying to count the flowers, going 1, 2, 3, 8, 6, 7, 5. Damn it. So that was a
I love
little fun.
that.
We all just stopped and waited until the song was over, and then we finished it.
Got it, man. That song's an earworm.
It is. It is, absolutely. Well, I'm very excited for you. I'm very curious to see what comes out next, as you're doing your next album. You can always release a single too in between. You don't have to wait and do an album at the same time. You can always just say, "Hey, I've got a song. Time to feed my fan base something," you
I'm
know?
certainly thinking about it. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, I cannot wait. I think you're a very talented, fantastic artist. I think you're going to inspire a lot of people. It all comes down to just getting it out there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm proud of myself for finally putting out some work after years of being too scared to do it. It was time, and I hope I hope it means something to someone else the way it means to me.
Okay, well, all right, now I've got to ask you. So, two questions for you. One, there is a real understandable fear that artists have of taking the things that we're the most proud of and exposing ourselves by putting it out there for people. Is there something in particular that got you over that hump, or
It was my dad. Um, and it wasn't necessarily that I got over the hump. It's that he said that I just should get over the hump.
Mm.
For years, I'd like write a song. He'd be like, "Let me hear it." He's like, "You have to record it. You have to record it." And then I finally recorded those 2 songs that didn't end up making it on the album, and he was like, "If you don't put these out, I'm going to." And it's just because he was so supportive of it. I was like, "If my dad likes this much, someone else's dad is gonna like it, and then they're gonna show their kid," you know? So it was really my dad and my mom too, same way. She's like, "These are good songs, you just gotta put them out." It's like, "If no one else likes them, at least my parents do. That's what matters."
Well, and you have to take the parent feedback with a certain amount of, I'm their kid, they want to support
Yeah.
me, but they also could very well enjoy it. The way I look at it is, if I'm enjoying what I'm writing, there's a good chance someone else out there will too.
Yeah, I definitely had to rewire my brain that way instead of just being like, well, I like it, but no one else is gonna like it. I'm like, you're not that cool and indie, dude. Someone else is gonna like it.
But you also have the advantage, because I don't play live. So you have the advantage of kind of showcasing songs and seeing how people react to them.
That was super, super nice getting to play some of the songs on the album before they came out. And I was like, oh no, people do like them and they can sing to them. That was definitely a little ego boost that I needed before this came out.
So the other question I wanted to ask you, and I like to ask artists, especially songwriters, this question, or screenwriters this question too. When is a song finished for you? At what point do you say, this is the way it's going to be and I'm not changing anything else?
Gosh, it really depends. I think for this album, I was like, if it gets stuck in my head, then it's done.
Hmm.
If it's not stuck in my head or my roommate's head or someone's not humming it after I play it to them, it's not good enough. I wanted my stuff to be catchy and, like you said, like chandelier by Sia's in your dream, and now you're in the video. Like that's what I wanted to do for this album, and I think I was able to do that. And it definitely gave me a good stopping point. I was like, oh no, it's stuck in my head. I'm gonna get tired of it. We're good. That's the end of it.
Yeah, I use a lot of instruments in my music, and I tend to do a lot of layering. And I'll get to the point where I'm like, I shouldn't have added that. That's kind of when I know, for me, like I've gone too far. Now I went one step too far and I need to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Trevor keeps me in check. I'll be like, "Oh, we should add like a 4-part harmony to this." And he's like, "Oh, maybe not. Maybe let's just like let it be how it is right now." And I'm like, "Okay. You're probably right."
Was it pretty casual working with him, or did you guys butt heads a lot, or what was
Oh my
it?
gosh, he's the best and the easiest person to work with, like the most chill dad vibe of all time. And I I met him through my vocal coach. So he's really good with all the vocal stuff, which is super helpful. But because I met him through my vocal coach, we work the same way. Like the way we go about lyrics and the way we go about sound is very, very similar. And we kind of communicated sometimes without using words, which was great. We were always in sync, which was great. I love that guy.
Well, I'm curious though. I know he helped you on the musical side, but I'm curious, did he have you change any lyrics? Was he kind of like, yeah, I'm not liking that so much?
There was one lyric, and I have a really bad habit of doing this. There was just too many words in one phrase, and he was like, "Hey man, this song's really great, but you might totally up to you. You might want to change it. It sounds a little jumbled. Totally up to you though." And we ended up changing it, and I was like, "Why didn't I just do that in the first place? It flows so much better. It sounds so much better."
Well, I think we get stuck with our initial idea, right? Like whatever the first thing was you came up, that's the song, that's the hook, that's what it has to be, because that's what I wrote.
Yeah.
It is hard. And I know this because I've taken a lot of my older songs. Like I'll do typically one new album a year and one revamp album a year. So all of my older songs that I was way too young when I was writing and didn't, I should have been with a producer or somebody who knew how to structure songs better, and not just play one part for 3 minutes because it was fun to play. It is hard to go back and edit yourself because you get stuck to that initial idea, right? But it's also, you have to keep in mind, it's just an initial idea.
Yeah. I definitely had to get over that, and Trevor was really, really good at that. I'd be like, "Hey, here's a song idea. This is what I think, but you go. You figure it out, because if you come up with a different idea and it's better, I'm not a part of it." Because I do get stuck. And there was one song on the album, Don't Try to Date Your Friends, that I was like, "I don't know what I want to do with this song. All I have is this initial idea. Maybe we should just keep it." And he was like, "No, just let me do it. Let me go." And he added, that's the song I was telling you about with the organ and like the crazy guitars. And I was like, I never would have thought of that. In fact, if you would have suggested that, I probably would have said no.
Yeah.
It ended up being like one of my favorite songs on the whole album. So it's really great to have someone to like bounce ideas off of so that I don't get stuck in my own
It
idea.
definitely is. And I think that as you do projects with him or whoever you're working with in the future, every project you learn so much from. even if you're doing exactly the same process, you write on piano, you take it to the studio, you guys develop it together. If that's the process you go with, you will still learn something every time. You'll learn how to edit yourself better. You'll learn how to be more open to change. You'll learn how to develop things so that you won't have to make as many changes. It's just part of the process. But that's one of the things I love about it is the growth from project to project.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this plays along and when there is another album, because there will be. I will never ever stop writing
Good,
ever.
good.
Um, once that comes along, like what the vibe of that's gonna be and how the process is gonna change. I'm really excited to see how that goes.
Well, it's, people, I hear people oftentimes say, like, how can the Rolling Stones make so many albums? How come, this band did so much music? How could they keep writing? You can't not do what's a part of you.
Yeah.
You
If
can
it's in
try
your
and
blood, man, you gotta.
you could try and ignore it. You can try and, if you've gone through some stuff and you're hating the business or whatever, you
Yeah,
could try, but you're still coming up with ideas, whether you work on them or not. They're still coming.
they're always there. It's
Yeah.
always in the back of your mind, whether you like it or not, so you might as well do something about it.
That is a perfect note to end on, really. Thank you so much, Mads. I can't tell you how excited I am, and can't wait to see what you do next. I will be following your career with great interest. Please come back on the show and see us again.
I would love to do that. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. Take care.